Welcome back to the channel, guys. We're talking RTV lawsuits, what's going on with the new VB WRX, that's the 2022, 2023, and 2024 that's going to be coming out. And we're going to be talking about everything you need to know about the, a potential lawsuit and whether or not we're really going to see one, class action, and everything you need to know. If you are not familiar with what's going on, for a long time, we've seen issues with RTV. Not just that they've stopped coming, but RTV is very much being noticed in the oil and oil pickups and oil pans and even on dipsticks for the VB WRX. Now, at a higher level view, this is a problem, or at least it could be. Theoretically, when you design an engine, you can't have things running through the engine that are large pieces of material. But with that said, the big question is, have we seen any problems? And I think overarching right now is there aren't any major problems that we know about. That being said, that doesn't necessarily mean there aren't problems, there aren't going to be problems, and you don't necessarily need to have a problem to say, hang on, something just isn't right. So the big question that everyone seems to be talking about is, like the engine failure lawsuit that we saw with the EJ platform in the old WRX and STI, mainly the STI, are we going to see a class action lawsuit against Subaru for the VB WRX and excessive and incorrect use of RTV while sealing all of the pans and basically anything that required a gasket sealant on the VB engine? Now, a few things play into consideration here. One, is there grounds for a lawsuit? Two, what are the financial losses that are being, let's say, incurred by the owners? And three, what are the long-term potential effects of this RTV? And I think there lies the problem. And unfortunately, the problem is exacerbated by a community that wants to tune their cars. And that's not a bad thing. I, of course, am going to be tuning this platform, but the problem is we need to know about what's happening in the long term before we tune, because of the, we just need to know if there's gonna be a problem with the RTV if we're tuning our cars, especially in the fact that once we tune our cars, we're very much voiding ourselves from any type of class action lawsuit, just like the STI. If you had tuned your STI and had experienced issues after being tuned that was documentable, you were not covered by the class action lawsuit for the EJ. I think what we need to do is take a step and look at each piece, because I think what's going to happen is, what we're going to realize is that maybe a class action isn't going to happen just now, but in the long run it could happen. So the first question is, do we need evidence of damage to actually have a class action lawsuit? And the short answer is yes, we do. And why? Because we need to show incurred costs to the owner, whether it's failure, time without the vehicle. There has to be some major inconvenience experienced by the owner to actually be grounds for a lawsuit. Now, here's where it gets interesting. What about future damage? Can you prove that material cycling through the oil that is large enough to cause damage, like something that like metal would do, can you prove that that's going to cause long-term damage and affect the ownership of the vehicle? And will that have any grounds? Historically, it looks like no. Now, I've reviewed a few other class action lawsuits that are similar, obviously none being with RTV, and there probably aren't grounds, again, without engine failures or work that needs to be completed. Now, dropping your pan to remove or check for RTV is not considered acceptable work, because you theoretically don't need to do it to continue performance of your vehicle. And there lies the problem. Are we going to see a class action lawsuit? Most likely no, and not for a long time, because we need to see what the RTV does over time. It may do nothing, and it may cause horrific engine failure. We just don't know, and that is the problem. Because we don't know, it's unlikely anyone will be able to bring a real case against Subaru for a class action lawsuit. And even more dangerously, you don't want to do it too early, because you don't want to then create a causation not to have a case in the future. Most class action lawyers would advise that. So I know there's been a lot of, vaguely specific information in this video. The short answer is, my guess is in the next couple years, we're not going to see anything come of the RTV issues. It's just going to be something that we all deal with, and individually, if there is anecdotally a problem, Subaru will probably fix it to avoid the press. And my guess is, just statistically, with some of the RTV that we've seen, there has to have been some pans dropped by Subaru, just based on how many WRXs have been sold to the public at this point. And my guess is that work is done as quietly as possible. So I know that's disappointing because a lot of people are trying to avoid this platform because of the RTV, but maybe take this as a positive. We don't have documentable proof yet that it's a problem. And that should be, that should say something. And I understand, for all those engineers and pragmatists out there, I'm a mechanical engineer myself. I understand how engines work. I understand how engine dynamics work, engine design works, all that stuff. I understand that theoretically this RTV is going to cause a problem. The fact that it hasn't done it in the field, though, means that there is something that we're just not considering. So for now, I take that with the grain of salt as I look at the problem, and we continue to wait to see if something's going. But for everything that I could find, documenting with Subaru, I've actually even called, before making this video, called many dealers. I can't find any evidence of anything that is serious and wrongdoing. But there will be an update to this video in either 6 months to a year or whenever we hear more news, and I'll be sure to, keep you guys updated, and otherwise, we'll go from there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully you have a better understanding of just what's going on just in the class action lawsuit around, the VBWX and whether it's going to happen and it's not. And hopefully you can make an informed decision because, again, keyboard warriors online, it's amazing. People are like, there's already I saw a comment the other day that there's already 30,000 people, entered into class action lawsuits. And I was like, that means that almost every VB owner in North America has entered into a class action lawsuit. I was like, your numbers don't make any sense. So that's the update. Hopefully, again, you guys learned something, and I'll see you guys in the next video.